Welcome to Incredible Idaho. I'm Jack Hemmingway. Our first story tonight is about a rarely seen animal who's developed quite a reputation over the centuries. Folklore seems to treat predators either as heroic figures or more likely as evil scavengers. The fearsome Wolverine is no exception. The Cree Indians called the Wolverine O-me-da-cheese, which means one who likes to steal. Other common names for this animal include skunk bear, Indian devil, glutton, and kakaju. Legend is not kind to the Wolverine. Some Native Americans believed it was charmed and carried the souls of departed people. So if a Wolverine got caught in a trap, an Indian was reluctant to kill it. But if the Wolverine wasn't slaughtered, it would steal from the Indian's other traps. Often this dilemma was solved by setting the Wolverine free, but first, the animal was cruelly mutilated by putting out its eyes. Strip away the folklore and the legend, and even today, there is very little scientific knowledge about the Wolverine. There appears to be a scattered population of these animals here in Idaho. Confirmed sightings of the Wolverine are concentrated in the rugged, roadless areas of north and central Idaho. The rough terrain of the Sawtooth Mountains provides the setting for a scientific trapping operation designed to learn more about these reclusive animals. The imposing snow-crusted crags that rise abruptly from the Stanley Basin stand as a vigilant guard over the Wolverine's territory. For what we do know about this elusive animal is its need for remote country with little human disturbance.
The Wolverine is a very tenacious, durable animal. This is an animal that has evolved as a scavenger, a scavenging predator.
This secretive creature is the target of a trapping operation headed up by Fish and Game research biologist Jeff Copeland. The idea is to capture the animals in order to radio collar them. Then Jeff will be able to track Wolverine movements over the next year to study habitat use, and in this way, get a better idea of what the Wolverine needs to survive.
Should we go ahead and get the axe and we'll get some bait here. Some of the characteristics of the Wolverine that make it so interesting also make it extremely difficult to research. It's a very solitary, sedentary animal. They live at low densities, and they're constant travelers. They're moving all the time, especially in the winter in search of food.
The trapping crew hopes that search will bring Wolverines into the roughly 20 baited traps set at various points in the Sawtooth National Recreation Area.
We've been putting out quite a bit of baits, and good stinky roadkill make good Wolverine groceries. Wolverines have an incredible sense of smell. They spend the winter scavenging, looking for food. They rely almost exclusively on carrying dead carcasses, animals that have died the past fall and through the winter, and they're buried under the snow, and Wolverines can, it seems they can smell this stuff from miles and miles away.
The trap is a 33-gallon drum. Some of the roadkill goes inside the trap, but the biologists will also hang bait in the surrounding trees, so Wolverines will be drawn into the area by the scent.
It is tough to trap, mostly in that there's so few. It's hard to get our traps in a place where the Wolverine is so that we can get him in the trap. They don't stay on one food source for very long. They're constantly making a trek around their territory, checking their feed sites, finding new sites. It's only occasionally that we're going to get them into the vicinity of our traps. You might want to run that door up and down and make sure those rails are clear.
Once a Wolverine comes into the area, the next trick is to actually get the animal to move inside the trap.
There's a piece of metal, trigger that hangs down in the back. It just goes through a hole in the top of the trap. And there's a piece of cable that attaches to that and goes to this pin that goes through the door.
Okay, I'm gonna pull the trigger now. Oh, it's working good now.
For the most part, the traps are checked daily. But if the weather is warm, The biologists leave the area undisturbed for 48 hours.
If we have a wolverine come into the area and start scent marking and using our baits, then we'll check daily so that we'll be right on top of it.
On an early afternoon in February, their persistence paid off.
It was incredible. It was absolutely one of the most incredible experiences of my life.
The captured wolverine was a 19-pound female with a ton of resentment.
If somebody said there's a grizzly bear in there, you'd have believed it just from the sound of that growl. And boy, I confess that made the hair on the back of my neck stand right up.
It felt almost, I guess, invasive that we had taken her and caught her, and it's kind of hard to describe, I guess. She was a beautiful animal.
The wolverine was drugged, then measurements were taken and a radio collar attached. This animal's life was temporarily disrupted, but the information she'll impart to biologists as they track her movements may help preserve an entire species.
This is an incredible animal. Its tenacity and its durability represents everything that's wild, and the extreme environmental conditions that it lives in, to me, represents, I guess, the hallmark of the wilderness philosophy or ethic.
The responsibility for preserving wild places belongs to man. For here, protected by the severe granite rock of the Sawtooth Mountains, a rare animal like the mysterious wolverine can still carve out a home. Recently it was discovered that the captured wolverine had slipped her collar. But the crew's not discouraged. 3 more traps have shown signs of wolverine activity. We'll keep you updated. Jeff's study is designed to reveal wolverine numbers and habitat use in the wild. But near Boise, a captive wolverine study is being conducted. Researcher Clinton Long's objectives are to establish a model breeding program for other research facilities to adopt and to document wolverine behavior and communication.
You can really see their lateral stripes. And these start really early. And when we had these individuals, they were born here. And at about 3 weeks, these lateral stripes start to occur.
When a wolverine is born, it is completely white. Then gradually, it develops the beautiful brown and buff striped coat of the adult.
You see is the mask, which is really typical. Almost all of them you'll see, you're okay, you're all right, you're all right. Extremely large feet. You're all right.
The facility holds 2 females and 1 male, all from the same litter. Perhaps in time, scientific projects like these will tell the real story of the wolverine and finally put to rest the evil legends that color our folklore. Very few things in nature can match the drama of 2 Bighorn Rams fighting for the right to breed with the females of the herd. The younger rams challenged the battle-scarred veterans, the crack of their horns echoing through the canyons. It's an incredible sight, almost impossible to capture, unless, of course, we have the gift of artist Bernie Jesterbeck Hart. It's a ritual as old as time, a pageantry of power, of threat and submission, an extraordinary display of nature that demands to be held arrested at that breathless moment. A challenge to any wildlife artist, whether a painter working in watercolors or oils, or a sculptor casting images in bronze. Bernie Jesterbeck Hart meets that challenge with an unusual twist. Her material of choice is barbed wire.
It's the secret, that barbed wire. It's the twist, it's not the barbs. Sometimes the barbs come in handy and sometimes they don't. But it's that twisted wire, and then it's kind of uniquely Western. That's kind of special too. When I was introduced to welded wire, I found who I was.
It's difficult to believe that a collection of rusted wire will somehow evolve into a majestic image of the Bighorn Challenge.
What makes the animal what it is has to be in this piece, or I lose the whole feel of the animal. Sometimes that's difficult to capture, and I can't tell you how I know it's there. I just know when I get it.
Bernie's images are life-size. She prides herself on accuracy, spending long hours gathering photos and videos of her subjects and studying how they move.
This is what determines the whole piece, and it's the hardest thing to do.
Bernie's research included interviewing taxidermists, veterinarians, biologists, and even helicopter pilots who helped capture bighorn sheep in transplant operations.
Anything to tell me what they thought that the animal was like, and what would capture what they see in that animal, why they love it so much. And then I had to figure out what it was about the animal that they love. Once I see that, then I go to try to make that.
Bernie says she loves the three-dimensional aspect of her sculpture. The idea that she can see through to the other side as she builds her work.
I did some clay, and that was neat, three-dimension, but not like this. I want to see that other side too when I'm building.
What now appears as an abstract twist of wire gradually evolves into the recognizable profile of a bighorn ram.
Okay, now we have all of the outline form, and now I can see the sheep head totally. And now I'm going to fill him in.
The wire is welded close together, and the head begins to take shape. Bernie develops the pattern as she goes, blending and bending into a lifelike texture that also gives the sculpture its strength.
Hair, bone, muscle, whatever it takes in that position to get the feel. I have to be really careful. If the barbs appear too close together, it'll throw off the whole feel of the work.
As time passes, the sculpture takes shape under Bernie's slow, demanding craftsmanship, eventually maturing into a hint of the magnificence to come.
How can I tell you how long it takes? It depends on how well I see when I'm putting them together. Each one varies.
The horns are a special challenge. Bernie uses a smooth steel wire instead of the twisted barbed wire of the face. It is wrapped around the frame, the pattern much like the lines on a real set of horns.
It's going to have the chips, it's going to have everything. They'll be broomed off at the end.
Each passing season adds more character to the horns of wild sheep. An older, dominant ram wears his battle scars in the form of nicks and gashes. The ends of his horns become ragged and frayed.
The horns have a lot more process to go. The head is pretty well completed until we get to the finishing touches of the coloring and such.
The next step is the main frame of the piece. Bernie has learned by trial and error that it is the form of the legs and their positioning that gives the figure the powerful movement she's trying to capture. So the legs come before the body.
He'll probably stand about this tall, I'm guessing. I have to go back and measure. But I know the legs and such are this right length.
After months of painstaking artistry, the battling bighorns slowly begin to come alive, and Bernie's magic touch becomes evident. Steve Woshinski, an industrial welder, is the technical advisor and helps with the finishing touches. For Bernie, the long-anticipated image begins to take shape.
We got the nose. I don't know how it's really going to be until it's all done. So I get as excited about it. I don't know what they're going to end up like. I just go with it.
Bighorn Rams, battling it out. The breathless moment brought to life by the gifts of Bernie Jestropek Hart, unveiled in its natural habitat.
It looks as real as I'd hoped it would, especially against this backdrop. Now I wish I had a live sheep up here looking at it. We finished it at night and couldn't see what the heck it looked like, and the color and everything really turned out neat.
The rams are life-size, and each has his own role to play.
That one is the old man, and this one is a younger one challenging him.
Bernie's attention to detail lends it the life. You can trace the hair pattern along the challenger's spine. You see the twist in his body as he moves to clash with the old man. You can almost hear the ringing echo of the impact. The secret, Bernie says, lies in the barbed wire.
The barbed wire, the reason I like that media so well is because the way the light diffuses on it, it gives it a softness. Even though this thing is really hard, it makes it look real from a distance because I think the light goes in and it just softens it, as opposed to hitting something really hard like a bronze would be. I'm excited about those horns especially.
The detail on the horns is incredible. Chips, age lines, grooming, the proud battle scars of a magnificent ram.
Each set of horn took probably longer than one full-body sheep. Those horns were very intricate in how we did it. We had 4 or 5 different things that we had to go through to do them.
Bernie's unique sculpture is a reflection of her remarkable creativity and her appreciation for the drama and majesty of the natural world.
I hope some people will appreciate the sheep, because I know that it's difficult to find them in this position, and how magnificent they are when they are like this. They are a beautiful animal.
Many depredation problems occur during the colder months, when deer and elk migrate from Idaho's high country to their traditional wintering grounds at lower elevations. Haystacks on adjacent ranches may prove very tempting to these animals. Conventional wildlife management practice calls for paneling haystacks out of reach of wild animals. Another solution is a specific depredation hunt, designed to reduce the number of deer and elk in a problem area. But in eastern Idaho, there's a special place where none of these traditional wildlife management practices can be applied. When problems began occurring, a much more dramatic and costly plan had to be devised to remove these offending animals from the area. They call it the Big Lost. It's actually named for a river that eventually loses itself underground. But the Big Lost could easily be named for the incredible feeling of isolation here, the sense that this land has remained untouched forever. But locked between Big Southern Butte and the Lost River Range lies a federal security area known as the Idaho National Engineering Laboratory, or INEL site. Established in 1949 by the Atomic Energy Commission, the site is 900 square miles of strictly restricted property set aside as a reactor testing station. This means the area is closed to most human activity. But when the resident elk herd became a problem, human activity exploded in the form of 40 biologists and 2 Jet Ranger helicopters and their pilots. The problems here are unique. Depredations occur throughout the year, but these animals mainly cause problems in the spring and summer months.
Everything fine? Got blood?
The problem is that there isn't a lot of free water on the site. This leaves us with a growing elk population that spends a fair amount of its time raiding into agricultural fields for water and green forage, and doesn't provide a lot of benefit because people can't come to the site to view the elk, they can't come here to hunt the elk, and so they're a liability.
Since hunting isn't allowed, the only answer seems to be to remove the elk from the INEL site. The plan is to capture 30 animals, mainly cows and calves, and release them in a new area. The elk are captured using helicopters and a device called a net gun. In the lead ship, the gunner shoots a 16-foot square net that entangles the animal. The second helicopter hovers nearby, while the mugging crew jumps out to wrestle the elk.
They need to be aggressive. They'll get her. Now they got her.
Once the muggers hobble and blindfold the elk, she'll be slung beneath the helicopter and flown back to base camp. Elk first began appearing on the INEL site in the early 80s. By 1991, the original group of 20 had boomed to an estimated population of 200 animals.
This is an expensive operation, but the other thing to consider is that the department paid $300,000 in depredations for elk and antelope on ranches adjacent to the site in 1988, 1989.
Ready? On 3. 3. Oh, gee.
The costs add up to about $500 per elk for a total of $15,000. Funding for the operation was provided by Fish and Game, the Forest Service, the INEL, and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. This 30-animal mud rodeo won't be enough to end the depredation problems on the INEL site. Another operation will have to be set up later in the year to remove more elk from the area.
Nice job, Dave. Great. Thanks, guys.
There they go.
But the good news is that these animals will be pioneers of a sort They'll be joining earlier transplants in establishing a new population of elk near the Pebble Creek area, southeast of Pocatello. Biologists have termed the INEL project Operation Flying Elk. It marks the first time these animals have been moved, carrying them in special bags slung beneath a helicopter. Each spring, about 5,000 white-fronted geese descend upon the Fort Boise area of southwestern Idaho. Their migration route stretches from their wintering grounds in southern Mexico all the way to their nesting grounds in Alaska. We close our show tonight with the last rest stop of the white-fronted geese before they begin the final leg of their trip, a non-stop 2,000-mile journey.